Darryl Markowitz, the blacksmith here at the Wareham Ford. Today I'm going to show you a fast demonstration on the manufacturing of these two elements that are being used for the Reed Maxwell House project. Now this shows you the individual elements as they were constructed in two different sizes. They're made of respectively 1/2 inch and 3/4 inch interior diameter Schedule 40 pipe. That gives us an exterior diameter of approximately 3/4 of an inch for the small one and about 1 inch for the larger one. The first step is to take the end of the tubing, slightly nose in the open end. The individual strokes are coming in at about a 45-degree angle. None of them is very hollow. Now the first step is shouldering it in using the wider of the two conical shapes on the die. You can see how the curved shape of the die concentrates the downward force on the hammer. And creating the tip first. So here's the sound change when the tubing has gotten small enough so that I'm essentially striking against the surface of the die as opposed to the pipe. Now we're going to use a slightly heavier hammer and work backwards slightly from our conical point. There's always a balance in this project. If you strike too hard, you merely collapse the tubing. So actually, a long series of light strokes achieves the shape generation faster than really pounding. Now you can see that the tone I've generated is now fitting very sloppy inside of the die. Now I'm working further back from the tip because my end result is desired to be a long tapering point, not the sausage on a stick most commonly seen. You can see that the heat disappears out of this material because of its thin wall quite quickly. Now with care, you can generate this shape on the flat portion of the anvil. But what you're doing is you're pinching the bar between two flat surfaces. This is not as effective in terms of creating a conical shape. It does allow you some control against bulges that are created as you form. You can see that now what I'm doing is I'm taking the overall shape and evening off to a long taper. Now I have a second die here which comes to a conical point, and I can use that to actually squash in the tip of the pipe. Now of course the material is getting thicker as it's reduced in circumference. This means you do have to strike harder and there's less effect being generated with every stroke. Just gone over the flat side of the anvil here to create again an even shape down towards my point. the next step will be actually forge welding that tip shut. Creating the fine point by working right up at the tip of the anvil. Now you can see that that very, very tip is not quite forge welded completely shut. Now ideally you want a nice crisp forge weld there. Now what I need to do is get an even contour down that. So the last part of the process involves using this tapered shouldering tool, which you can see inches apart as I constantly rotate it. Again, you want to work down your shape slowly and gradually. If you hit too hard, you just collapse the piece of pipe, you don't get an even generation of shape. You see that first heat, I've gone in about half the way to my desired shape. You can see I've left a small portion of the bar here actually straight in its original profile. You want to try to maintain your rod as simple, as straight as you can. That's the finished element.